What
Okay.
is going on in your first 5K for you? What's happening?
Well, everything is happening. And it's all happening at once. And I have to thank you. I can't thank you enough for creating a space like this because even
Thank
though
you.
I work from home and I homeschool during the day, and it seems like I'm isolated sometimes from what I'm doing, the community there is like family. It's not just a community where you kind of show up and you introduce yourself and you're just on an island on your own. It's warm, it's welcoming, it's communicative. It's everything that I think you envisioned it was supposed to be. So
Yeah, that makes me happy to hear.
I hope it does because you probably need some flowers of your own every now and again.
Well, I tell you what, my flowers are your successes. And
Yes.
that's why this is so exciting to me. So, what I heard a little rumor
Hmm.
that you have reached a major milestone. Can you tell us what that is?
I have. I've reached a few since I joined, and I joined on July 31st, 2025. It was the last day of the month, and instead of waiting until August 1st, I said, you know what, I'm just going to go right for it.
Love it.
I hit my first 5K within the first 2 months. And it
Wow.
was only after I opened my school community did that really materialize. And then from there, things just continued to improve. And part of it is because my focus changed.
Mm,
So being able to see what I had in bits and pieces in a lot of different places is what I was able to harness when I first came into the community. And I think it's important to note that I was doing a lot of the things right, but I was not doing some of the things consistently enough.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, talk to me about you first get in on July 31st.
Hmm.
What's one of the first things you do? Because I want to talk to the people who are thinking about joining
Hmm.
or who have joined recently and they're like, oh, there's a lot of stuff in this classroom, a lot of posts. What's one of the things that worked for you early on that you would recommend for people?
Honestly, reflecting. So for some people, it is a start from scratch kind of experience, but for me, it wasn't. I have been coaching for the last 5 years and hosting a podcast for the last 5 years. In fact, we're in the same week 5 years ago when everything launched for me on my
Wow.
Kickstarter campaign. So it's kind of like being able to look back at what's worked, what hasn't worked. For me, that was the starting point. And
Mm,
for me, I had to ask myself a lot of questions about the things that people requested from me. The space that I'm in is so niche. It's so specific.
what is
It's
that? What is that space?
so I am a children's book author.
Mm-hmm.
And prior to becoming a children's book author, I had all this experience in marketing, product management, branding. Corporately, I've done everything that you can think of from sales to market research and product development. And for me to go into this space of being a children's book author, it was kind of a dynamic that just shifted what I was already familiar with. It's around communication, it's around content. And when it became obvious to me that it was a large exercise in project management, I was like, oh, okay, I could do that for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, you transferred your skills from something you did in corporate, making money for other people, into
Exactly.
something more creative for yourself. And I talk about this so often where people don't think their skills are going to transfer over to working
Yeah,
for themselves.
it was direct for me. And around this time, 5 years ago, Clubhouse was a big deal.
Hmm.
And so as I'm having conversations with people around aspects of how do you sell more books and how do you make this happen and how do you reach people with content? It's like, oh yeah, I know how to do that. And people started asking me to help them do that.
Hmm.
I did not intend to become a podcast host, a coach, have a coaching program. I didn't intend it, just organically started to take shape, and I didn't deny any parts
Yeah.
of it for moving forward. So when I say 5 years ago, I've got some runway by which to look back and
Yeah.
see what offers were well received, which ones fell flat. How did people respond when I gave them more of what I thought they needed versus what they were in stage of developmental need for. And it was obvious that I needed to dial back into some of the simpler aspects of it. And while here I am wanting to do things that are more strategic in nature and developmental behind where I'm at in my business, I had to recognize that not everybody's there. So, starting where the journey begins for a lot of people was something that I had to do coming into your first 5K to figure out how I could refine existing offers and
Mm-hmm.
how I could take some of the offers that I thought people wanted and test them out to see if they really needed them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the community really made sense because I fought for about 2 weeks about whether I should create a community around this or something else. And there
Yeah, and
was too
let's
much
let
equity.
everybody know if they're not familiar. School, SKOOL is what the platform is what I use for your first 5K for the membership itself, but it's also something I teach about because I love it so much. So you're
Yeah.
saying that you for the first 2 weeks you were like, I don't know about this school thing. I don't know about this community thing. And what were you worried about when it came to that?
I was not so much worried as torn.
Okay.
I was torn because I'm looking at where I would like to go with the group of people that I had been serving and what else I might want to do in addition to that. And I debated whether I should fully commit to the community that I was already serving or start something new.
Okay.
And
And
so,
then, so when you got into your first 5K, that was sort of the path you got on. Let's fast forward a little bit to how you reached $5,000. Tell us that, like, how did that happen?
I'm so glad you asked that question because Arlen, when I made the choice to commit, is when the generation of revenue started to flow. It was because I said, drew a line in the sand, this is where we're going with this, that the floodgates started to bring people my way. And because I've had this podcast for the last couple of years, some people were listening to it. So there was momentum coming from that. There was momentum coming from me communicating with my email subscribers. There was momentum coming from the encouragement that I was getting from the group. And it became a no-brainer. So the first of this series of results came from going through your program and looking at what I could offer that was quick and easy, pretty much done, or quick and easy, isn't going to take too much time, isn't a heavy lift, isn't hard for somebody to say yes to. So the first thing that came through was somebody who paid in full for coaching services to just from scratch figure out how to create and how to communicate what they need to their readers, how to go through the launch process, and me guiding them through that, in addition to the digital portal that I already had in existence, was something that I started to pour more gasoline on as a
And
result of
what
somebody
did you
saying
charge for
yes.
that? What did you charge for that?
So that's like 2,500.
2,500. So somebody came in. Did you reach out to them? And how did it go from I'm on your first 5K to this person knowing about that offer?
It went from I'm in your first 5K to me starting to communicate more about what I
Mm,
was going to do to my community of email subscribers.
hmm.
And then this person who reaches out says, hey, I'm on your email list and I've been listening to your podcast for a couple of years now. So I think part of what helped tip her choice was here it is. She's hearing more from me
Hmm.
about what community aspects need to come together if you're going to do the thing that you said you want to do, which is publish a children's book and make it
Yes.
available to the right people.
Yes.
And so when she came out, I was like, oh, okay, so I guess I'm supposed to do this. And I shared that with the community. And I was halfway, mouth wide open, like, oh, somebody heard me in the universe and the Lord is making things move.
Hmm.
And then after that, because some of the other things that you make recommendations for around generating revenue quickly are like put together an offer that's something like 4.99 and see if anybody takes it.
Hmm.
And if somebody doesn't take that, put out another one. I was like, okay, let me try that. So I wrote these down because I knew I wasn't going to remember them. The next
Yeah.
thing that I offered was an audit.
Hmm.
The audit was basically designed to take anything that someone has already created around their children's book, help them figure out what they could do differently to attract more of the right types of individuals. And part of what I have as my strategy isn't so much selling individually, but it's selling in bulk. So giving them suggestions on how they could angle what they're
Mhm.
teaching, sharing, what the impact is that they want to have to work with organizations and institutions that have a similar objective and they share
Sure.
in common a consumer, or in this case, a reader. And so I put together the audit. I'm like, okay, I can do an audit. And what that entails is a little bit of me coaching and a little bit of some of the tools that I create to do like a, I don't want to say a deep dive, but there's a process and there's like
Mhm.
the 5 point evaluation that says you're able to do some things well in this area, and here's where your areas of opportunity.
Right, right.
So I put together the audit, and within about 2 weeks of me making available the audit and communicating it to my email community, somebody said, "Hey, I need that." I'm like,
Mm.
"Oh, so this is the second thing that somebody's open to."
Yeah. And what were you charging for that at the time?
4.99, because I think that was one
Are you
of
saying
the,
499?
yeah,
499, you put it out there and somebody took 2 weeks. Now, a lot of people would stop after the first few days because they say, "Oh, I can't. I put it out there. Nobody said anything." But you waited 2 weeks, which is not a long time. And because people were getting to know you and seeing it, you were posting about it, talking about it, boom, 499. And did you go on to do more of those or did you think of something else or how did it continue?
well, that actually was an upsell opportunity.
Oh, okay. So that person, I just want to advocate for the viewer here.
Yeah.
Upsell opportunity, we teach about that in your first 5K. All of this, by the way, is $50 a year. I just want to point that out. It's a 100x return that you got. But
Yeah.
we teach about how you can have these one-on-one conversations and see if there's something more that you can help somebody with and let them know that there's an opportunity for that. So how did that work out?
There was, because the way I set up the audits put me on the front end and on the back end. I'm having an upfront conversation to identify what the author's challenges are.
Yes.
As I'm going through what steps are involved with the audit, I'm uncovering things that they can do on their own. And then at the presentation of what that dynamic looks like with the report out and the sharing of what I found and the recommendations, I give two options. I can either say, hey, if you want to do this on your own, you're well within your right to do so. I encourage it, I support it. But if you want it done for you, I can do that for you. And here's what the investment would be.
Mm-hmm.
In the scope of my community, and I don't know if this is the same with everybody's community, I believed initially that this would be something that people would say, teach me how to do it because I want to write more books.
Mm,
And because I am of the mind that you teach a person how to fish and they can go out and fish, they're going to sign up for a fishing lesson.
yeah.
But a lot more people than I was expecting want it done for them. Quick and dirty, get it out of the way. Michaela, hand it over to me. And if I have any questions and I need additional support, can you make yourself available through coaching? Is how this series of events has unfolded.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. Client says yes. I'm like, all right. So that went from a 4.99 customer to 4.99 plus 15.99 on
Mm-hmm.
top of the 2,500 from the other customer. And I'm like, oh, so you're asking for more things to be done for you, audience, community.
Yes.
I guess I better prepare myself for that because I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah.
Keep rolling, and someone inside the community who is learning and being given all of the things that they need to achieve what is the ultimate goal, which is to put yourself in position to reach more of the right audience members, not necessarily the people who are mom and dad who are going to read the books to you, but the
Mm-hmm.
organization who has a budget, who has program designs that say we want to reach more readers. like the people that you wrote your book for because we already have them in our system and we already have programs for them. That's on LinkedIn. So I teach inside the community how you connect with people on LinkedIn to make this an appealing opportunity for them to work together. And the clients who came through previously were like, you know what, I don't really have a book. It's not ready to go yet, but this one does. So
Mm.
here it is. I'm thinking I'm teaching inside of the community, and you can go out and do these things yourself because you're getting all the resources. And she's just like, I don't really want to make the time to do it myself. So can you do it for me? I'm like, well, Arlan said, other offers might come as a result of you putting something out
Hmm.
there. So then I had to create one that was a service that was distinct for that mode. I'm like, all right. So I'm listening. I'm
Yeah.
listening. That was
Yeah.
how the chips fell. It
Yeah.
forced me to reassess based on what people were telling me they wanted,
Absolutely. And they
not
will tell you. And they will tell you. And a lot of these things, even with when we're seasoned in a way, like a lot of people come into your first 5K or my other programs, my inner circle, Arlen's All Access, they are seasoned in other industries or other ways that they have, worked for corporations, worked for somebody else,
yeah,
but they feel like a newbie, a beginner, kind of like what you felt 5 years ago. They feel that way right now. And these programs that I have are like, no, actually, you can bring those skills in,
hmm
these instincts that you have, the advantages you have for being over 40 or being at a location. I don't know your age, but other people I'm talking about, being at a location for 20 years or 15 years, and the instincts you've built up over time cannot be bought
they can't
by
be.
other people.
You're right. And Island, it's so important to note that 5 years ago when I started this, I didn't have like that was the year I think of what was the buzzword was imposter syndrome.
Hmm.
And I didn't have it.
Yeah.
I didn't have it partially because the type of work that I was walking into was the type of work that I had already done. So I really didn't know that I needed somebody's permission to say, hey, you can teach people how to do in marketing what you've been doing for the last 20 years. What I didn't know were all of the nuances of publishing.
Mm.
And where I think I missed an opportunity was to help people with what I thought were the easier parts, the marketing parts, when the reality was I wasn't starting at scratch for a lot of people because a lot of people weren't yet ready to dive into the communications and the outreach and the pitch development and the conversations that you have with people who want to partner with you. They were like, teach me how to write the book. And I was like, oh, you need to know how to do that? There's enough people who teach that already. But it
Mm.
turns out they marry together in a way that I didn't acknowledge at first. So that was a miss
Mm.
on my part. I had to go
Mm.
back and pull people ahead from where they were into where I needed them to be. And part of me being able to deliver on the marketing front was I first had to start teaching people how to publish. It's like, okay, listened again because
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
wasn't something that was intuitive to me. Michaela said, jump right in 2 feet from exactly where you are right now. And I didn't recognize that a lot of people weren't there. But I will say this because Arlen, being inside the community helped me see this too. There's no one way to do what all of us want to do, which is have some kind of a positive impact.
Mm.
And I don't know that it's stressed often enough that you really have to define your own path without looking to the left and looking to the right to see what everybody else is doing, but to have those blinders up. Because if I had listened to everything that says create a digital offer and don't offer services, which is not what
Mm.
is communicated inside the community, but that's
Right.
one mantra that a lot of people go
Yeah.
with,
Yeah.
then I wouldn't have extended the services that I had previously not been extending to
Hmm.
draw more people close to help me understand how I could get to those digital offers that would help me to make things more scalable.
Yeah. And passive.
Yes, and
Yeah.
passive, because
Yeah.
right now it's all very, very active.
Yeah.
everything that came after that was all, hey, can you do this for me?
Yeah.
I,
And you do that, what you do is you do that up until a certain number of people, up until a certain dollar amount, whatever your milestone for yourself is. I'll do that up until I make 100,000 or whatever the number is.
yeah,
And then because you have all those touch points and you've worked with so many people and you know exactly what they need from you, you find automations that do half of the heavy work. You
hmm,
also find the person who comes in who you say, okay, I'm going to go out there and promote this. I'm going to give you some of the automations and you're going to do all the work and I'm going
yeah,
to bring in the sales. And
yeah,
that's what you do. But you have to start in one of these ways that we start, which is these one-on-one conversations,
yeah,
putting yourself out there on YouTube, having a school membership, something that's going to get people to understand who you are and how you can help them. And you
yeah,
do things at the beginning that do not scale. You do things like have 10 phone calls to make one sale, or you put yourself out there for 2 weeks before you hear anything and you say, "Oh, I don't know," right? So it's really actually a really cool um journey that I get to see people go on over and over again, and I also get to see where people stop too short.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so it's
yeah.
really great to hear you say all this because I think you're doing a lot of myth busting for people
Oh, am
who may, yeah, I think so because a lot of people have these limiting beliefs of something. The method doesn't work, or it can't work for me, or the imposter syndrome that you just talked about. All of that gets in our way. And at one point or another, but to see an example, somebody did it. People are doing this every day inside of your first 5K. Every day, somebody's putting something up. I just saw
I?
this. I just did this for the first time for the whatever. And that's why I like to make these highlight videos.
Yeah. I'm so glad you do this also, Arlen, because when you go behind the scenes, I've learned from all the highlight videos that I've watched from people that I
Hmm.
knew prior to coming in the community to people
Hmm.
that I became acquainted with as a result of being a part of your first 5K. And there
Yeah.
are some things that you introduced that I've used my school community as a test market for
Yes.
that
Yes.
I wouldn't have considered. Now, had I just opened a community and started doing what I thought people needed to have, I would have missed these chances to say, all right, if I create this, for instance, inside of the community, one of the challenges that we do is like a 10-week long thing. And for every week, we go through something that is dynamic that you can put in place a system. So at the end of every week, you've got assignments, you've got checklists. And I couldn't condense it into one of those like 5 day long things because most of the people in my community work full time. I homeschool during the day. So that type of intensity doesn't work for my life flow. But over the course of 10 weeks, a lot of people continue to show up, they ask
Yep.
questions, they engage. And I used some of the GPTs to test
Hmm.
them out to see if they were effective. And showing people how to do it inside of the challenge is what let me know that that's something I can automate, that is a
Yep.
digital, take me out of it, provide some of
Yes.
the context,
Yes.
provide some of the video coaching and guidance, and somebody can run with it. And
And they can run with it. Hmm.
I don't have to do hands-on for
Well,
that one.
that's why I teach that inside of the classroom. I teach you how to make your own GPT, which is basically like having your own version of Chat GPT that does so much for your customer. And again, you
Yes.
learn what you want it to do for them by having those interactions with them. So it all ties together. I want to close out by just asking you one thing about school itself.
Hmm.
I have spent the last year plus on school, making more than $1 million on school and bringing together my ecosystem for the first time, really, even though I
Hmm.
had a lot of success prior to it. What can you say about school itself that people need to hear that is why do you like school so much?
Like school because it's easy to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
There is not a tremendous amount of complexity. If you're on the creator side and you're building a community, they make it easy to upload your resources. They make it easy now with being able to go live inside the community. to interact with the people who are in your group. Something that I do inside of school now that I know the tiers are available.
Yeah.
Something that I didn't do prior to now was segment my audience according to who's paying for the one-time annual rate versus who might want a little bit more extra and wants to pay for something in a one-off kind of way.
Yeah.
Making that level of segmentation available is something that I don't think a lot of platforms get right. And I've used one or two others to see. I used, well, it doesn't matter who they are because I don't use them anymore. But
Yeah.
but I love being able to segment my audience in that way because I found for people who do want courses, I can create inside of school a place to put them. And I already have them, whether they were bonuses from my full program or whether there's something that I need to teach because somebody's asking for it, that can be extended on a completely different price point than just the monthly or in our case, the one-time payment that you might make annually. So that's another thing. They make it easy. They give the segmentation as much love as it needs. And then the other thing I really like about school is not to say that, most apps don't work. But if I can access it on my phone and I can access it on desktop and it's exactly the same, that saves me the hassle of trying to figure out whether or not I posted something already and it was received by all the people who were supposed to see it. Sometimes there's a disjointedness when you
Yeah.
have a mobile versus a desktop. And that's something that might, for me, be a mild annoyance, but for somebody else, that's a complete stopping point because it's a poor user experience factor. I don't have to deal with that. So
Yeah. The app just works.
it works.
It
I
just
like it
works.
enough to
Love it.
keep using
Yeah.
it.
Well, it's here. I think school is here to stay. I'm excited about it and I can't wait to see what happens next with it. Thank you so much for sharing all of this information. I know you've helped a ton of people just now by sharing so freely your information. And this is what you do. You share it, you put it out into the world, and people are going to find you because they're looking for you already. So thank you so much. And
It's my
I will
pleasure.
definitely, and you know what I'm going to do?
Oh,
Send me your affiliate link to your first 5K. I will
mhm.
put that under this video. So if anybody joins because of this interview, you're going to get 50% of their joining amount.
Awesome. I will
Cool.
so send you that.
All
Thank
right.
you, Arlen.
Cool. Talk to you soon.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye
Bye.
now.